That's what I felt like when I got out. And that was like
Let me know when we're good.
14 years ago.
I'm in now.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Do we need to do the pledge again?
I think we took her off.
Okay, good. All right, we'll call this meeting to order, this special meeting of the Tunkhannock School Board for the purposes of board appointment. All right, can we get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Eckert?
Here.
Mrs. Goebel?
Here.
Dr. O'Sherrick?
Here.
Dr. Perbola?
Here.
Mr. Burke?
Here.
Mr. Farr?
Here.
Mrs. Arnold?
Here. All right, Superintendent's remarks.
Very briefly, good evening, board, Tiger community. I'm certainly excited to bring on a new member to our team. I won't talk about him yet because we have to swear him in still, but congratulations. But while tonight is a very exciting night, it's really sad for another reason. I'd like to acknowledge the passing of longtime school director Lori Bennett. I'll speak a little more about Lori at tonight's 7 o'clock meeting, but I felt it was important in this meeting to acknowledge her decades-long service to our district and the Tunkhannock community. She always put the needs of her children and the community's children above everything else. She was a special person and will be missed, but certainly congratulations to Director Greenlee, who will be joining us officially in just a minute.
Okay, do we have any public comment on agenda items?
I got a question on how this is going to be run. For those of you whose names are on the ballot, you each got one of these books when you got a petition. On page 10, the top right corner, it says, the 30-day timeline starts with the official board meeting where the resignation is formally accepted or the vacancy is announced. That starts the process. Then the board is responsible for publicly advertising after that and conducting a selection process. Now, the selection process always before, the people, whoever applied, had to come do it in public. What has changed?
Only one.
We'll explain that when we get into the agenda items.
Huh?
We'll explain that when we get into the agenda items.
Well, you're saying I'm just doing it because it's an agenda item, and I'd like to know what has changed.
Any
Because
other
we went
public
through this
comment?
process several times before in my 20 years here.
Right, the timing on this one is different though. Any other public comment? So I'll give a description of what the timeline looked like. Because of the specific time in which Director Bennett, I was gonna say Fox, you know, like that was a while ago, right? That Director Bennett passed away, her position was open on the ballot for petitions to be filled out. Therefore, we needed to advertise it sooner so that people knew that the position was open if they wanted to put in ballot petitions. It says you can count it as starting after the first board meeting, but it does not say you have to. And we consulted with PSBA and the county solicitors and our district solicitors in coming up with a timeline of how this is going to be handled. Because of the fact that the position was going to be on the ballot, we felt it was important to have this information made available to the public before the ballots were due, which was last week. So that was why the timeline was what it was in this situation, which is very uncharacteristic. I am not aware of the last time we've had a board member pass away while they were seated on the board. So that in and of itself is different. Usually it's they have another job or they've moved or they didn't win their primary election, so they resigned before the general. That was not the case, and that brings us to where we are today. We put this information out. We received 2 letters of interest, and only 2. And only one of those 2 candidates had also filed nominating petitions to be on the ballot. So when we appoint someone this evening, this appointment is only valid through the first Monday of December. At that time, whoever wins the election, both the primary and then into the general, for this special 2-year seat, because they're only finishing out Lori's term, which was 2 more years, that person would be a person who would be appointed in December, is sworn in December. I want to extend our deepest gratitude to former board member Bill Swilly. He was the other letter of interest that we received, and he was doing so because if there was going to be a contentious election for this seat, he was going to fill that gap with his experience and his genuine concern and caring for this community and this district until the election stuff had worked out who was going to fill the seat for the last 2 years. Because we only had one candidate, Ethan Greenlee, who put in the submission of a letter of intent, or interest, sorry, and the petitions. Once Director Swilly was aware of that, he said that he didn't need to come, that it was best to just move forward with the candidate that was going to be here for the next 2 years and let him hit the ground running. So that is what leads us to new business number A, letter A. An appointment of a school board director. We look for a motion to approve a school board director to fill a vacancy in Region 1.
Motion to approve.
Do you have a name? Ethan Greenlee.
Ethan Greenlee.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion? Hearing none.
It's a pretty cool position, so congrats.
All right, could we get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Eckert,
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel,
Yes.
Dr. O'Sherrick,
Yes.
Dr. Pabola,
Yes.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Mr. Farr,
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold.
Yes. All right, well, we have an oath of office, I suppose, if he hasn't changed his mind already.
Go swear at it.
Do you have a microphone, or is there anything he says, or, okay.
Yes.
I, Ethan Greenlee, do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Just get you to sign it.
Amen.
And I gave him a little bit of warning. We were just going to give him a minute here. You only have to take like 30 seconds. You don't have to do a lot. Just give a quick introduction to anybody who might watch this later. Where you're from, what makes you interested in the board, you know, a summarization of the things you wrote in your letter for us.
Okay. If you didn't hear, my name is Ethan Greenlee, lifelong resident of Tunkhannock, graduate of Tunkhannock Area School District. Well, I guess the
Which
joke-
township? Which township?
Township.
Eaton.
Thank you.
I guess the joke would be why I would be interested in it, but soon to be a father of 2, very soon, actually. Kind of feel like we have a duty to take a special look at our children and the future education of everybody's children, and you know, want to make it better, want to have a thoughtful, meaningful impact on the thankless job that I feel like it is to sit up here, to be honest, if I could speak of everybody up behind these tables today, and on this side as well. That being said, you know, I'm a firm believer in if you want to question something, you better understand it first. So, first and foremost, before we can make any impacts, I want to understand how we run our school district. So I appreciate the patience in teaching me some of that, and also the questions that I'm going to pose sometimes as well. So thank you guys for that, and guess that's it.
Great, well, welcome. I think that it's, there's usually like some issue that brings all of us to the point of either starting to attend the board meetings or to try to want to be on the board. And you get on the board and you learn so much more about it. So it really is a great opportunity. I like what you said about like wanting to learn how it works, so then you know what to question. You know, there are some people that don't look at it that way. You know, they'll just, you know, question it from, you know, 75,000 feet in the air. But yeah, welcome. If there's no other comments on this agenda matter from the board, we are going to adjourn to an executive session, and we'll return for the public meeting at 7 p.m. Motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.